business in Cleveland versus the Browns. It was a dominant win. Dak Prescott, he threw a touchdown pass. It was cool, but the defense, 6 sacks, 2 picks. Up next, home against the New Orleans Saints, coming off of Derek Carr's stunning performance. James Jones.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it, big dog.
Let's talk.
Why should we believe in the Cowboys? They dominated again, but they dominated week 1 last year, 40-0 versus the Giants. New year. Why should we believe in the Cowboys?
We shouldn't. We shouldn't. And y'all know how I feel about Coach Mike, man. I played 8 years for Coach Mike. I love Coach Mike. But at the same time, this is what the Cowboys show in the regular season. They played better last year in week 1, as you just stated. 7 sacks, 3 takeaways, 0 points, only allowed 171 yards. We was talking high on the Dallas Cowboys last year. The only thing that matters for the Dallas Cowboys is the playoffs. And any Dallas Cowboy topic we have on here, that is going to be my answer. Whether they lose, whether they win, whether Dak Prescott plays well, we know in the regular season Dak Prescott plays at a very, very high level. Micah Parsons plays at a very, very high level. The defense plays at a very high level. In the postseason is all that matters for the Dallas Cowboys and Mike McCarthy and Dak Prescott and Jerry Jones and Trayvon Diggs. That's all that matters. Make sure you are healthy. Make sure you are playing good football, get in the playoffs, and then play this type of defense. And then play this kind of game.
A little bit? You don't believe in them?
I was believing last year. And the year before that.
The Browns are a much better team.
And the year before that, because they had 12, 12, 12. They got to deliver
Giants?
in the postseason, man.
Well, you had 2-5, man.
Why go?
Why should we believe in the Cowboys?
What are we believing in? Right? I believe in them to be good in the regular season. That's what they do. You know, they beat up on the average teams, right? The non-playoff teams, right? Let's talk about it for a second. So you just said that. They go 12 wins every season, right?
12,
They get to the playoffs. Y'all, not us, but y'all know what they do in the playoffs. They lose. If I trust in my $6 million quarterback, do we trust in him? Let's think about this. So in 8 years, he's won 2 playoff games. Are you asking me, do I believe in that? Or do I believe in the Cowboys who last year, all the losing teams, they were 8-1. All the playoff winning record teams, they were 4-4. So what are we asking me? What I believe in? Which team? Who? What player? Like, I believe in Michael Parsons, but as a whole, I do not believe in the Cowboys. They do the same thing every year. Beat on the bad teams, lose to the good teams.
I'm glad.
Go to the playoffs, and they lose to the playoffs.
I'm glad you said one name, because what I believe in and why I believe in the Cowboys this year more than any is because I believe this will be Micah Parsons' championship leap. Micah Parsons, the one who I believe has more juice.
He's really nice.
We know what we know about Dak, but let me and Chase, if I can borrow you, let me show
I know that boy from, though, Hacho.
Because I believe in Micah more now than ever. Micah, to me, will be the difference in the Cowboys season this year. Not only will he dominate the regular season, I believe because of Mike Zimmer, he'll also dominate the regular season and the postseason. Colvin, throw the tape up here because I want to show the world why I think Micah's going to be the difference. Now, here's what I'm going to find fascinating. The Cleveland Browns, they're going to keep what's to a defense 7 people in to essentially protect. As a defender, we call this punt protection. But here's the beauty. The Cowboys are only going to rush 4 people. So how in the world do the Cowboys, when it's 4-on-5, ultimately looks like 4-on-7, how do they get a sack? Other thing I need you to look at that's incredibly important.
Lord.
I need to run this back because I need you to look at this. Where is Micah Parsons? Micah Parsons traditionally outside rusher, but where do y'all see him? Here as Chase is pointing. Ooh, he's right there. I had a double circle to
double.
Because he's right there rushing over the guard. So now Mike Zimmer's putting Parsons in a position to win. Rushing over the guard, Parsons gets an easy win. Cowboys get an easy sack. I think the Cowboys will lead the league in sacks this year. To me, Chase, it's not just about Parsons. It's also about Zimmer, and that's why I think the Cowboys have a different level of belief for me this year.
It's exactly like Zimmer. Okay, you saw the 7-man protection. You saw the 4-down linemen, how they're in. I want to show something right here, though. It's called double A gap mug. Let me get it in yellow so you see it. Double A gap mug. Chase, what does that mean? There's a defender right here, and there's a defender right there. Okay? That is the A gap right there, and that is the A gap. That's what Mike Zimmer, the scheme, the defensive coordinator, is bringing. Dan Quinn was a great defensive coordinator. He didn't have an attacking scheme like this. Okay. Now, let me show you what I mean by that. All right, Deshaun Watson, you are in a 2-by-2 set. All right, but look, hey, Acho, I'm a little worried if I'm the quarterback. There's 8 guys. No, even like the corner can blitz too. There's 8 guys. This scheme, this double A gap mug. You can blitz off the corner. All right here. You can blitz off the nickel. These are the linebackers. You can blitz there. Okay, you can blitz wherever you want.
So what do you have to do now to protect that?
Okay, so when you said they were in 7-man protection, from an offensive standpoint, they're not in 7-man protection. They were in 5-man scat protection then. Now, okay, I got issues. I only got a running back there. So let's play it right there. What does Deshaun Watson do? Oh, come back. All right, so he brings this tight end back. So now you're actually in 7-man protection.
Did y'all see what the linebackers did when Deshaun Watson brought the protection back? The linebackers were in the double A gap mug, and then as soon as Deshaun Watson brought the protection back, the linebackers got up out of there.
So, and that is the cat and mouse game that Mike Zimmer brings. I remember when I was with Mike Zimmer, against Mike Zimmer in 2018 with Chicago Bears. Man, you spend all this time, all this effort, all this energy, and then they drop out because you're preparing for the pressures that he brings. It causes all sorts of issues, okay? So look, Deshaun Watson right here. They end up playing man. I've never seen this before, Acho. They play man-to-man coverage. It's a corner out, it's a post, it's a shallow cross. Deshaun Watson, you have no answers for it because you bring in 7, you only get 3 out in a route, you're protecting, the other flat control doesn't get out, and that's the issue with this Mike Zimmer scheme is you spend all this time and all this effort getting to it. He only pressures 25% of the time. So this quarterback, Deshaun Watson,
Let me ask you this, because I love Dan Quinn as a defensive coordinator. Had 2 #1 defenses in Seattle, had a really good defense in Dallas. But is it fair to say that the players help elevate Dan Quinn's scheme, yet Mike Zimmer's scheme helps elevate the players?
There's no doubt about it. I like that a lot. But the fact is, the Cowboys, they have really good players. You just showed them Micah Parsons, one of the best players in the NFL, right? So you take a better scheme, in my opinion, with Mike Zimmer, then Dan Quinn, plus the talent of the players. This is why I feel hopeful for the Dallas Cowboys this year.
James Jones, you talked a lot about, as we head back to the desk, you talked a lot about seeing Mike Zimmer's scheme. For those that are unfamiliar, Mike Zimmer was the head coach for the Minnesota Vikings for maybe a half decade. He was the head coach for a long time there. You played for the Packers for a long time, so you've seen that double A gap mug scheme. You've seen Mike Zimmer's defense. Do you believe that Mike Zimmer and his defense can help get the Cowboys over the edge?
I do think it will definitely help get the Cowboys over the hump, and that's why he's there, because he coached against Coach Mike for so long, and he used to give us and Aaron Rodgers a lot of problems. I just remember preparing for him, and when we were preparing for the Minnesota Vikings and Mike Zimmer, Aaron Rodgers would have us have his eyes on him during the meeting. Because when we get in the football game, I don't want you to take your eyes off me. So if we're in the meeting, I want you to have your eyes on me if I give you a signal, because that's how it's going to happen in the game. He's bringing so many exotic blitzes and pressures. They showing they got mugged and they dropping out of there. It's so chaotic. You have to be on the same page. Deshaun Watson and the Cleveland Browns was not on the same page. He should have signaled into something else. It's tough going against Zimmer's defense because it's a lot of communication for the offense, and that's why you get a lot of free rushers, and that's why you get a lot of miscommunication by the offense.
JD, let me ask you this. Go ahead.
I was going to ask real quick, you think Zimmer's better than Quinn as a D coordinator?
Scheme-wise, yes.
I mean, just overall defenses, right? Like, who has a better defense?
I think that's a really good question. It's a hard question to answer. I've been getting infuriated when I see people online being like, Zimmer's such a better DC than Dan Quinn.
I was getting there.
I'm like, whoa, everybody calm down. Dan Quinn, he created to some degree that whole Legion of Boom, was the architect for that. Dan Quinn has a defensive coaching tree. When you think about Robert Saleh, when you think about Gus Bradley, DC for the Colts, Robert Saleh, head coach for the Jets, Dan Quinn has a defensive coaching tree in and of himself. But Dan Quinn does have a simplistic scheme which can be elevated by players.
Cover 4.
Whereas Mike Zimmer's scheme,
they play it well, bro.
Yes, they do. They do. Dan Quinn has a simplistic scheme that's incredibly elevated by players. I do think it's a good question, and I think it's very dismissive when people are like, oh, Zimmer's just better than Quinn. It's different.
And the reason why I asked that question because it's like for some reason now, right, with a Cowboy team that's less talented than it was before, when it was really, really good with 9 All-Pros, it's not as talented. And they're acting like, oh, now they get over the hump because they got a really good defensive coordinator. And I'm sitting there like, am I tripping? Because Dan Quinn, since I've been playing ball, right, I don't know, but since I've been playing ball, he's been really, really good. When I would go against him, it's going to be a battle because he's a really good defensive coordinator.
Let's not forget the Dallas Cowboys lost in the playoffs against the Green Bay Packers, who put an absolute whooping on them. The game plan for that game was not great. You want to talk about getting over the hump? Okay, Dak actually, threw 2 picks that game, pick 6. I get it, or almost pick 6. At the end of the day, though, if you have a more aggressive scheme, I don't necessarily know Jordan Love could have done what he did against that scheme, because in that scheme, in that playoff game, that's what it was. It was cover 3, it was cover 4, and they diced it up. Matt LaFleur, the head coach for the Packers, diced them up. I'm just saying it puts a lot more stress on different offensive coordinators and quarterbacks to game plan.
But this what I will say, though, because I know everybody want to get excited because the defense looks different, right? Now, Zimmer's defense is different, right? A little bit more chaotic, right? Quinn's defense is this is what we're going to do because we got the players to do it. See if you could beat us, right? But Zimmer ain't been to no Super Bowls or none of that with his Super Bowl
I'm about to get there,
defenses and all
too,
that
like,
neither.
Cowboys, actually. Andy, correct me if I'm wrong. I think Zimmer was the defensive mind in 94, 95.
Lord have mercy. And he wasn't running this.
Man. Still going, man. Michael Jordan retired for the second time back there. Come on, what we talking about?
I just want to make sure
Come
we're
on,
correct.
man.
Zimmer was the defensive coordinator for a Cowboys Super Bowl team in the early 90s.
So,
I guess my thought is this, though. He was on the staff. He wasn't the DC. Here's my thought, Shady, because I think Shady's correct in this.